किसी व्यक्ति के निर्माण का स्वर्णिम समय यौवन काल होता है, जिसमें वह आने वाले लंबे जीवन के लिए शरीर, मन और आत्मा का निर्माण और विकास करता है। इसी नींव पर अपने जीवन का मजबूत भवन खड़ा करता है और उसका भोग करता है। किसी भी राष्ट्र के विकास की आधारशिला और ऊर्जा उसकी युवा शक्ति ही होती है। यही उसका आत्मबल और इच्छा शक्ति भी होती है। इसीलिए कहा गया है, वीर भोग्य वसुंधरा। राष्ट्र निर्माण के ताने बाने में यौवन के ही धागे होते हैं। अतः जो राष्ट्र अपनी इस ऊर्जा का संरक्षण और संवर्धन करता है, वह विकास के उच्च शिखर पर पहुंचता है। राष्ट्र के कृषि, उद्योग, शिक्षा, चिकित्सा, तकनीक, राजनीति रूपी चक्के को यही युवा शक्ति, ऊर्जा व गति प्रदान करती है। यह राष्ट्र की रगों में बहने वाला गर्म खून है, जो उसे चैतन्य और प्रगतिशील बनाता है। भौतिक व आध्यात्मिक दोनों के विकास में इसी ऊष्मा का तप सक्रिय रहता है। इतिहास साक्षी रहा है कि जब किसी राष्ट्र की धुरी लड़खड़ाई है, युवा शक्ति ने आगे आकर अपने पुरुषार्थ से उसे सुदृढ़ बनाया है। आज अनेक प्रकार की समस्याएं जैसे नशा, फैशन परस्ती, पाश्चात्य जीवन शैली, आस्था संकट, भ्रष्टाचार, बेरोजगारी देश की युवा शक्ति पर आरूढ़ हैं। आज युवा शक्ति को आत्मबोध एवं अपने सांस्कृतिक गौरव से परिचित कराना समय की मांग है। वर्ष 2011 की जनगणना के अनुसार हमारे देश में 35 वर्ष तक की उम्र की 65% आबादी है। यह युवा शक्ति जिधर चल पड़ेगी, देश भी उधर ही चल पड़ेगा। अतः देश का भविष्य अब युवाओं के हाथ में है। यह युवा शक्ति ही राष्ट्र शक्ति बनकर राष्ट्र को समृद्धि, उन्नति एवं प्रगति के मार्ग पर ले जाएगी। युग ऋषि पंडित श्रीराम शर्मा आचार्य जी ने युवा की अद्भुत परिभाषा दी है। युवा वो है असंभव जिसके शब्दकोश में नहीं, जो बाधाओं को चीर कर अपना मार्ग बनाता है, जो परिस्थितियों का दास नहीं, उनका निर्माता, नियंत्रणकर्ता एवं स्वामी है, जो भाग्य नहीं, अपने कर्म पर विश्वास रखता है, जो उमंग, उत्साह, जोश से जीता व सुनहरे भविष्य के सपने देखता है, जो स्वयं सब कुछ करके गौरव अनुभव करता है और विश्व में कुछ अनूठा करना चाहता है।
असमंजस व अवसाद की स्थिति से गुजर रही युवा पीढ़ी को दिशा देने का काम एक चिंतक ही कर सकता है।
नमस्कार।
वर्ष 2006 में देव संस्कृति विश्वविद्यालय के दीक्षांत समारोह में पूर्व राष्ट्रपति डॉक्टर एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम व श्रद्धेय डॉक्टर प्रणव पंड्या जी, जो विश्वविद्यालय के कुलपति भी हैं, मिले और इन दोनों चिंतकों ने मंथन किया कि युवा पीढ़ी को एक सृजनात्मक मंच देने की आवश्यकता है जो राष्ट्र निर्माण में सहायक हो। यहीं से दिया की नींव रखी गई।
I am indeed delighted to participate in the second convocation of Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya. I am very happy that this institution has been created with a motto of developing the divine culture, which is of utmost importance to us while we are on the path of transforming India into a prosperous, happy and peaceful society. We have the responsibility of transforming India into a developed nation before the year 2020. It is an endless journey through knowledge and enlightenment. Such a journey opens up new vistas of development or humanism, where there is no scope nor room for pettiness, disharmony, jealousy and hatred or enmity. It transforms a human being into a wholesome whole, a noble soul and an asset to the universe. God bless you.
जिस तरह एक दिया अंधकार को दूर करने की क्षमता रखता है, दिया भी इस देश के युवा मन से अंधेरे को दूर करने का स्वप्न लेकर चला है। ये प्रशिक्षण और कार्यशालाओं के माध्यम से शिक्षित, स्वस्थ, आत्मनिर्भर, विनम्र, संवेदनशील दिव्य युवाओं को तैयार करने के लिए प्रयासरत है, जिससे राष्ट्र निर्माण की रचनात्मक गतिविधियां चलाई जा सकें, दिव्य भारत का पुनर्निर्माण हो। इसका लक्ष्य युवाओं की क्षमताओं का विकास कर दिव्य भारत का निर्माण करना है, जिसमें व्यक्ति, परिवार व समाज का उत्थान हो। दिया युवाओं के सपनों में आदर्शवाद लाकर उनकी वैचारिक प्रक्रिया में सकारात्मक बदलाव लाने के लिए प्रयासरत है। वैज्ञानिक अध्यात्म के माध्यम से युवाओं में देवत्व की अभिव्यक्ति, दुनिया में सद्भाव के साथ सतयुग की वापसी इसका परम उद्देश्य है। इस तथ्य की महत्वता समझते हुए वो डॉक्टर कलाम के भारतवर्ष को वर्ष 2020 तक एक समृद्ध राष्ट्र बनाने के स्वप्न की ओर युवा शक्ति को अग्रसर करने के लिए दिया इस महान राष्ट्र के युवाओं के लिए एक आंदोलन है जो मजबूत सिद्धांतों और यथार्थवादी लक्ष्यों पर आधारित है। जो लोग दिल और दिमाग से युवा हैं एवं जो एक नए भारत की परिकल्पना के हमारे स्वप्न से सहमत हैं, उम्र, जाति या धर्म की परवाह किए बगैर हमसे जुड़े।
मुझे विश्वास है गायत्री परिवार के दिया आंदोलन के माध्यम से देश के युवाओं में वो संवेदनाएं प्रकट होगी, सामाजिक जिम्मेवारियां प्रकट होगी, एक साहस की वृत्ति पैदा होगी, कुछ करने के लिए, कुछ कर करके दिखाने के लिए जीवन को लगाने की इच्छा होगी। देश के लिए जीना सीखो इस मंत्र के साथ।
इस आंदोलन से जुड़कर आपके जीवन में खुशी एवं एक नए उत्साह का संचार होगा। साथ ही अपने राष्ट्र को नई ऊंचाइयों तक ले जाने में आप गौरवान्वित महसूस करेंगे।
प्रणाम। आज के ज्ञान सभा में मैं सुचिता शेट्टी दिया मुंबई की ओर से आप सभी का स्वागत करती हूँ। फेसबुक, यूट्यूब पर जुड़े सारे पार्टिसिपेंट्स का आज मैं स्वागत करती हूँ। गायत्री मंत्र से आज की ज्ञान सभा की शुरुआत करना चाहूँगी। परम पूज्य गुरुदेव, वंदनीय माता जी और गायत्री माँ की सूक्ष्म उपस्थिति में सभी से नम्र निवेदन, कमर सीधी, आंखें बंद। गायत्री मंत्र का उच्चारण मन ही मन करेंगे। ओम भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। आज हम एक ऐसे विषय को लेकर आए हैं जिसका शीर्षक है लीडरशिप agility. So when we speak of pandemic, when we speak of leadership, there are a lot of thoughts which come across our mind. And one thing which stands out is something that keeps one sustainable or something that helps somebody to survive, and that's being agile. And when it comes to leadership, let's hear this journey from somebody who's head people, somebody who's interested in people, somebody who's shaped organizations, mentored many people, mentored many startups. I think we couldn't have had a better person, a great resource person, somebody who's beautifully designed organizations, and I think has mentored many people who have been you've been at responsible positions in organizations. And here we have with us respected Dr. Prashant Nairji. He calls himself always a student, passionate about people and startups, and who spent close to 20 years in the industry, out of which the last 10 was in the role of being an HR head. And yes, this is something that has been a personal journey for him of being an entrepreneur himself. And the very objective with which he started off was making a difference to the larger ecosystem. To speak about his professional career, currently he's the chief HR advisor for TVS Capital Funds. He's been a member of member advisory board at the NASCOM community, co-founder at Indus Partner. He's also been the advisory board member at Zing HR, co-founder at an e-commerce startup firm in a healthcare domain. The areas that he's worked on is executive search, consulting, training, and managing HR for SME segment at Inhelm Leadership Solutions, where he was the managing partner and country head. Before this, he was associated with Cipla as the global head human resources, president and head HR and financial services at Thomas Cook, and a lot of other organizations where he's held senior HR positions. Yes, an engineer at heart, and something which is interesting, where he's really studied is how organizations have evolved when it comes to change, and that was the area where he did his PhD. The thesis was on organization and HR issues and mergers and acquisitions as a fellowship program and management from the Indian Institute of Management, Ahmedabad. I think there is lots that we can speak about, sir, but right from the time that we have invited sir on campus for a lot of occasions, leadership is something which is very close to his heart. And here, with due respect and due to paucity of time, I think we would miss out on this opportunity. So let's make the best use of it. I request Dr. Prashant Nair, sir, to please speak on leadership agility. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Suchita, and namaskar to everyone. And it's my honor to be invited in this forum to talk about my experience on leadership agility. I'm sure all of you will be wondering what I'm going to talk about. Agility is already there. You know, are we not agile? Yes, of course, all of us are agile. The very prana that keeps us alive is about agility. And in the context of leadership, what is agility? Why is it important in this present context in time? Is something that I'm going to talk about. Can I have the slides, please? Can I have the slide? Harshal, can I have the slide, please? Yeah. Yeah, if you can, that's my Twitter ID in case someone wants to get in touch with me. I'm on LinkedIn and Twitter. So just in case, we're happy to interact directly with the participants. The online makes it easy to get across. But in this medium, we can't see faces and we can't connect at an emotional level. So very honestly, I look forward to the world wherein we meet people face to face. Harshal, if you can go to the next slide. The world today is, what is the world today looking like? There's an organization like, let me give this example. There's an organization by the name of Peloton. Peloton manufactures home exercise equipment and materials. This organization was founded during the pandemic, or slightly before the pandemic. Its shares shot up during the pandemic because there was lockdown. And as I'm talking, it's almost at the bankruptcy stage. An organization which is born, did well, some shareholders made money, and in 2 years' time, it's almost on the verge of closure. Zoom is another organization. Before Zoom, we had Skype. This is a product that all of us are familiar with, and we all use Skype for meetings and conferences. What happened to Skype? 4 out of 5 people who use online medium, if you are to choose between Zoom and Skype, they will choose Zoom. So Zoom virtually ate Skype for breakfast. And nobody had really heard of Zoom before 2020. So today's context is not about VUCA. All of you would have heard about VUCA: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. The new normal is defined by what scholars are calling it BANI. BANI stands for B for brittle, A for anxious, N for non-linear, and I for incomprehensible. Because there is no solid model for organizations. Models are collapsing, models are breaking down. Look at, in our own country, look at what is happening to the Future Group. It was a most dominant retail player that was present. Today, it's closed or almost closed or ready to be taken over. So the business models are getting broken. Organizations are getting broken in this entire process. There is a lot of anxiety and non-linearity. What do you mean by non-linearity? It simply means that the future cannot be predicted by from the past. In mathematics, we express that y is equal to mx plus c, or ax1 plus ax2 plus ax3, and so on and so forth, cannot virtually be defined in a non-linear world. You've got a point here. The graph may look like any form. The future graph, you cannot even predict the future graph. And in this entire context, businesses and organizations are finding it difficult to comprehend what is lying in the future. We really don't know whether there will be a fourth wave. We really don't know whether there will be another variant. And this is in spite of having so much data for the past 3 waves. Would you want to enter a travel industry? Would you want to enter an entertainment industry at this point in time, if I ask the student? Or if a student asks me, my answer would be, I don't know. And the funny aspect is, or the interesting aspect is, I don't know what I don't know. At least if you know what you don't know, it's easier to comprehend it. It's easier to at least know where you are. But if you don't know what you don't know, you don't even know the x1, y1, the origination point of where you are. That's the interesting aspect of a life today. So in this context, what's the role for leaders? Should leaders do something, or should leaders not do anything? If you can go to the next slide, I come to the very famous sloka, which is chapter 247th sloka of Bhagavad Gita, which talk about, Ashil, can you move the slide please? Karmanye vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalehetur bhurmat sangavatsa karmani. Of course, the first line is well known and everybody talks about it. But for me, in leadership practice, the second line is equally, if not more important, which actually says that the omission or not doing is a greater sin than failing after doing. Trying and doing is critical for individual and for leaders. You may fail. In a bunny environment, you may fail. In fact, most of the efforts and what you do will end up in failure only. I'm a chief HR advisor of in a PE fund, and we look at so many companies that come to us for investment. Every stage we know that whatever good we see can be unshackled by something that can actually eat up this thing. So it's not about just probability of an event, it's about the magnitude of the impact. So my expectation of an event E is probability into impact, and even with a low probability, the impact will be very high, which means the expectation or the overall impact will be huge for me. Even with a low probability, it's like the COVID scenario. There are very few people who, if you look at the overall percentage of people who die, they are not very high over the number of deaths, at least in the Omicron. But does it mean that everyone is safe? No, the probability of the event is low, but the impact could be very high. Does it mean that we do not invest in organizations? No. We need to do our work. And what Bhagwan says is that if you fail by doing, that's much better than not doing at all, not trying. And hence the concept of the world today is not about a perfect leader or level 5 leader or a complete leader. If you can go to the next slide. what organizations are realizing today is we don't want a perfect leader. We don't want a level 5 leader. What we want is an incomplete leader. A leader who understands that he doesn't have all the answers. A leader who understands that she needs more of sensing and relating and networking and visioning than really having all the answers herself. The realization that one, I know I don't know, and the realization also that I don't know what I don't know. Leaders who can take action without seeing the full picture. In our management school, when we studied, we always were taught that start with the end in mind. Even it's one of the habits of Stephen Covey when he talks about the 7 habits. You have the complete frame, go to the details, make a PERT chart, make a CPM, critical path method, and work backwards so that you know where you are starting and know where you are ending. This is the time you need. Forget about all this. Forget 5-year plans. 5 months, 1 year plans are probably good enough. If you know that, you're lucky. And there were times last 2 years when we did not know what will happen in the next 5 days. The survival mantra in today's is we need to search and praise the incomplete leader. So what do you have to do? What's the incomplete leader? The key trait of an incomplete leader is being agile. Agility is the ability of an individual to pivot himself or herself continuously. And what are the key traits of being agile? How does a person be agile? I'll spend 5 minutes in explaining that. What could be the agile characteristics? The first characteristic of being agile is, if you can go to the next slide, is A, the attachment of the individual to the overall purpose and not one's immediate work or thought. Many a time we get attached to the means, not the purpose. For example, compensation has to be paid. I'm now sharing something which a lot of people may have questions later on. So why should attendance be, if you go to an HR person, you will say attendance is compulsory. Why is attendance compulsory? To pay salaries. So what is the purpose? Is attendance the purpose or salary the purpose? Purpose is salary. And why do you need attendance? Attendance is a mean, but we got attached to the attendance. We are attached to the attendance factor and not the salary factor. So even now we will have electronic way of collecting attendance, work from home, you have to log in at a particular time, and so on and so forth. Why does an employee work? Does he work for the outcome or the output of his work, or does he work for the number of hours he has to be in the organization? What is the purpose of why a person works? So, many a time in organizations, societies, we get attached to the purpose and we get attached to the means and not the purpose. In a particular context, what you did so far might be completely wrong. You may have to redo it again. But we get into defending what we've done. We start justifying why we did it. अरे बाबा नहीं चलेगा. तो वापस go back to the starting point. Have the eye on the purpose and not on the ends. A beautiful Mahabharata story about Arjuna and Dronacharya talking to Arjuna about where he is looking at. I'm sure all of you know that story. That's the A part of it. The second, which I would say, is, if you go to the next slide, is about G. G is about the guts to realize one's shortcomings. Let me elaborate a bit here. It requires a lot of strength to acknowledge one's weakness. It requires a lot of courage to take risks. And you have to take risks because you don't have complete information. If you had complete information, there would be no need of taking risk or being, having courage to take a decision because everything is there for you. But here you have incomplete information, insufficient data. You don't know the capabilities that are required to do certain things. And there you have to be very open and saying that I'm getting into green energy business. I don't have the skills to do business. All my life I've done work in the oil and gas sector. Tomorrow's economy will run on green energy. I'm getting into green energy. That's where I can make an impact in the world to my company. But if I do need to do that, I need new people, new set of leadership team. So I will hire the best in the world. If I hire the best in the world, I need to make sure I retain them so that they can actually win. So it's extremely critical for us to realize that in today's context, the leaders need a lot of guts and courage to succeed. So the second part of being agile is G, which is guts. The third, I, is iterative thinking. There was a time when we said right the first time. Brilliant. If you get it right the first time, it is fantastic. But it's almost impossible in today's context. You need to continuously iterate your thinking. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a part of the sloka which says, Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Continuously work on what you're doing. You need to continuously say that, okay, this is where I am. After 5 days, the situation changes, or after 1 month, the situation changes, and then I need to take a detour. After 1 month, you may come back to what you've done earlier and pivot this entire thing and say that, okay, let me do it differently now. Now, this is challenge of communicating to people. When you are in a large organization, you need to take people along. They will say, क्या लीडर है, पहले एक बार बोलता है, दूसरा 5 दिन के बाद अपना दिमाग चेंज हो जाता है इसका. हम लोग कैसा काम करें? Yes, of course you have to communicate. Of course you have to ensure that somehow capability is there, and it's a challenge for each one of us to ensure that we are capable to face and live in a context of constant change. But you cannot be fixed by what you have or what you do the first time. You need to continuously pivot. And a great example of this is Ola. If you look at it, it started as a ride sharing. Today it is in electric vehicles. It is continuously pivoting its business model. So, and there are umpteen number of examples of organizations which are continuously looking at saying that how can I add value in this entire process. So, iterative thinking is the third aspect of being agile. The fourth aspect is L, which probably you could have guessed. It's learning. There's a great saying which holds true even now that illiterate of the world is not people who cannot read and write. Illiterate of the world are people who cannot unlearn and relearn. If you cannot, uh, you know, question your own belief set and learning paradigm, you will never be iterative. So, in a way, all these things are linked as well. You need guts to say that, okay, I will learn something new and I will question my beliefs. Without learning, you cannot become iterative. You know. There are a lot of organizations who say that I will rather hire younger people than older people. I ask them why. They say that older people come with their firm set of beliefs and firm, it's kind of fixed mindset. I don't agree with the generalization. But I don't agree with that at all. But I'll tell you one thing. The more you become an expert of, the more difficult it becomes, unlearning becomes. So is it impossible to unlearn? No, it's not impossible to unlearn. But you have to make efforts to that for that. You have to realize that the more I become a domain expert, the it is more it is difficult for me to unlearn and look at things from a new perspective. So learning becomes the fourth pillar of being agile. And the last one will be, you can go to the next slide, will be execution. Execution is about getting things done. Execution is about getting things done in the most optimal and fastest possible way, because only then can you say that, okay, I've put my plans in place, but the plan needs to be implemented. The plan needs to be implemented with the correct set of capabilities, with the correct set of people. Because if you're late in implementation, someone else is going to take your plan and implement it. So these are the 5 critical elements of being agile. Attachment to purpose and not the means. G is guts. E is iterative, being iterative. And L is learning, and E is execution. So, and there is a great sloka of Bhagavad Gita which say about execution. Sarva dharman parityagya mamekam sharanam vrajaham tva sarva papebhyo mokshasvami ma sucha. After doing everything, just, you come to me. Come to me. I interpret in a way that you dedicate your efforts to the larger cause, which is the purpose. So, in short, we are in very interesting times, characterized by brittle, anxious, non-linear, and incomprehensible. What got you success today will not get you success tomorrow. In the context of that, the role of a leader is actually to ensure that he continuously moves. He will not have the right answer, she will not have the perfect condition, but the leader needs to move. And for that movement, one needs to be agile. And agile, like I said, is about attachment to the purpose, not the means, guts, iterative thinking, learning, and execution. I'll be very happy to take a couple of quick questions if you have any.
So we do have questions. So I'll just throw the questions right away to you. We have Vishal from Bangalore, and the question is: which 5 companies in India and 3 globally you find have adapted to agility?
Very good question. I would say some of the companies, 5 and 3, you can make it out, but I think globally, Google is adapted very well to this entire concept because it focuses so much on innovation. Amazon is another company which is focused a lot on innovation. The third company I can name, see, in the technology field, I will have a bias towards technology field because that's where a lot of these experiences and experiments are being done. Apple is another third company that is hugely successful. There are non-technology companies as well who's really done extremely well in this. For example, in India, the Reliance Group is a company that I can think about. The Tata Group is another company that I can think about. In particular, the TCS example is a fantastic example of how they move to the new normal. Uh, you know, as Web3 comes in, as Metaverse comes in, every company would need to pivot their business model. Some of the startups are great example. It's very interesting to look at failure cases also, companies that could not adapt in spite of having a failure, in spite of having a position in the industry where they could have capitalized on that. They did not do that. One is Future Group is one classic example that is now, and globally, if I can think of companies, it could be some of the travel entertainment companies, some of the pharma companies that had an excellent chance of making it big during the last 2 years, but did not do so. So there are a lot of examples in this particular area. Look at some of the startups that are developing in niche and in absolutely niche areas. They're creating a difference. And yesterday I was looking at a startup called Zepto in Bombay. Zepto promises a 10-minute delivery in parts of Bombay. You know, the age of the founder, the age of a founder is 19 years, it's 21 years now, is a dropout from Stanford. And that's a unicorn right now. So, umpteen number of examples in the startup world as such.
So, Shashi from Coimbatore is asking, how is innovation related with agility?
Innovation is a process. Innovation is a process that is there, according to me, in every aspect of being agile. That is ingrained in the process of being agile. If you have to execute, you need to be innovative. If you have to learn, you need to be innovative. You need innovation. You can't go by the prescribed and old outdated methods to learn. The way we're all, I come from a generation where we were all focused and we learned from the classroom training than most of the sources. But if I continue to do that, I think that's pretty stupid of me. So, innovation and optimizing, creating new things is something that is, I would say, imbibed as the nucleus of the process of being agile. If you have to be attached to the purpose and not the means, you have to innovate at every stage. Some of the solutions come, and innovation can be different. Innovations are there. It's incremental innovation, breakthrough innovation, and different kinds of process innovation. I'm not really talking about a nuclear scientist or a pharma R&D person who innovates something breakthrough. But each of us in our life, we can innovate the way we go about our work, go about how we think and how we interact with others. Human beings, I believe, are by nature, we are an innovative species. That's the reason why we've survived. Look at the time frame in which we developed the vaccine for the COVID, actually. So that's been pretty innovative, actually. But by nature, we are innovative in our daily life. But somehow, because of the mechanical nature of our life, we've forgotten that, actually. I was addressing a group of students yesterday, day before yesterday. And I asked them a simple question saying that, have you ever thought why the laptop bags are black? Right? We all use laptop bags. Why? Why is it black in color? There was a smart student, she told me that it's because of the dust factor. I told you it's fantastic. It's a good answer, actually. I didn't think about it. And as I'm speaking, I don't have the answer, by the way. But we've not thought about it. We've taken it for granted.
True.
I said it's a good answer in an Indian context, but laptop backs are black even in US and Europe and Canada and Australia. Why is that then? But obviously, we've not thought about it, right? So we start taking things for granted in our life. Actually, we started taking things for granted in our organization. As long as we keep an eye on it and say that start questioning it, I think innovation will be the outcome.
That's interesting, sir. And I think we'll take one last question with your permission.
Yeah, sure.
My understanding is this is Sachin from Mumbai. My understanding is to be agile. One needs to dare to disrupt. But is our Indian corporate ecosystem ready for it? Your views on the same?
See, Sachin, such a nice name, Sachin. I think the greatest Indian player, probably. I'll tell you, Sachin. Uh, don't wait for others to do things. Okay? Uh, who is the corporate? The corporate, in many ways, are people like you and me. Right? So, if you're passionate about something and you deeply believe in that thing, there are three options for you. One is that you can force change wherever you are. And I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in a lot of friends' life. People who had the guts and courage, and who had probably the back, who had a great belief in something, have made changes in wherever they are. Second is, and today the startup ecosystem is so thriving that if you really deeply believe in something, you need not depend on your corporate organization to make the platform suitable for you. The second option is, to accept things in a very positive way. Okay, saying that, okay, maybe I'm not right, or maybe my context today doesn't permit me to take those risks. It's possible. In a society, we live in a society, we have our responsibilities. And there may be times when we are constrained by those contexts and we cannot force change, or we don't want to risk that. This is the second option, is to accept that I can't force change and the change is not happening, but I'll be happy with what I have. Actually, these two options are fine. But what makes me sad is there are a set of people who neither change nor try to change, but are negative about what is happening in the organization. That doesn't, it's not good for the individual and for the organization. So either you change or you accept the change in a positive way, understanding the context that you are in. And I'm very honestly, I've done that in the past in option 2, option 1. But I've never been in option 3. And option 3, the first, I would wish that if there's one takeaway from this talk, is that do not get into option 3, where you accept the context and are unhappy about it. That's something that is not right for the individual and the context of the society.
So thank you so much. Just this one last question, Gayatri from Lucknow. Isn't agility challenge more of a human one? Unless the thinking of every individual changes, the overall change in a company, society, or nation is not possible.
Yeah, but you have to determine whether, if there are 100 people in your ecosystem, do you want to be number 1? Do you want to be 100, or do you want to be the 10th? It has to start somewhere, right? And today's generation, I saw a beautiful video that you played. Today's generation is about youth power. If you are a leader, you take that first step. That's what a leader is all about. You can't say that you are a leader and be the 98th person who takes the lead. Then you're not a leader, then you're a follower. No problem with being a follower. I wouldn't say followers are bad, but be happy with being a follower then. Okay?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your time. And I think leadership, agility, you've explained it beautifully. A lot of takeaways for all of us. I think I would like to conclude it with the Bhagavad Gita quote that just give your best and don't be attached with the outcome of what comes out. I think that's the classic takeaway from today's session. And sir, I on behalf of All World Gayatri Parivar, which celebrates its Golden Jubilee celebrations this year, I humbly request you on behalf of our parent organization All World Gayatri Parivar to visit Shanti Kunj, which is the headquarters at Haridwar. The beautiful university called Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya, of which you had a glimpse in the Diya video. And sir, I would like to reiterate the fact that on this campus, the students stay here, and every 15 days they have sessions on Bhagavad Gita. So we'll
Oh,
be
very
really
good.
happy to have you on campus someday, definitely to guide and mentor our students for sure.
Very nice. Look forward to it. I've never been to Haridwar, so it'll be great to be there.
Thank you so much, sir. It's just 2 hours flight, a direct flight from Bombay to Dehradun. I think we'll be happy to host you. I would say, why host you? Are a part of the All Well Gayatri Parivar family now. We wish you great success, and I know that you're pressed for time. But before we conclude today's Gyan Sabha, we would like to share that the next Gyan Sabha we have with us from Sharada Mat. Pravarjika, and who would be the topic on which she would be speaking is the wisdom of Gayatri Mantra, as she would be sharing with all of us. So we meet for the next Gyan Sabha. We conclude today's Gyan Sabha with Shanti Path. ॐ द्यो शान्ति अन्तरिक्षगुं शान्तिः पृथिवी शान्तिरापः शान्तिरोषधयः शान्तिवनस्पतयः शान्तिर्विश्वे देवा शान्ति ब्रह्म शान्ति सर्वगुं शान्ति शान्तिरेव शान्ति सामा शान्तिरेधि ॐ शान्तिः 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 सर्वारिष्ठासु शान्तिर्भवतु. So we have with us Pravarjika Divyananda Pranaji from Sharada Mat, who will be speaking on wisdom of Gayatri Mantra for the next Gyan Sabha. Thank you, all of us. Thank you, Dr. Prashant Nair, sir, all our viewers who joined us on various social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and we look forward for the next Gyan Sabha. Thank you all for your time. Thank you,
Thank you.
sir.